Hi, my name's Olivia, I'm a medical student here in the UK and welcome to my channel, The Dyslexic Medic. So today I'm going to be talking a bit about what to do when you start uni and you've got dyslexia, or if you think you've got dyslexia. I'm also going to be answering a couple of questions which some people kindly put in on Instagram, so hopefully find this useful. So what to do if you've been diagnosed with dyslexia and you're off to uni in September. So my first thing is apply for your DSA or your disability student allowance. This isn't money that you actually see, but it's money that will go into getting you equipment and things that are going to help you out during your time at university. If you do it now, sometimes the funding takes a bit of time to come through, so hopefully you'll have it all set by the time you go to university. The other thing to do is also speak to the disability advisor at your university so that they're aware that you have dyslexia, and so it can get you sort of on the list for extra time and other support that you might need. Definitely, if you want extra time and if you're entitled to it, get it done sooner rather than later, because they will not appreciate you emailing them like a week before or something, being like, oh yeah, also I have extra time, because yeah, they won't be happy with you. They will try and accommodate, but obviously the sooner you do it, the sooner they know and the more sort of receptive they'll be. If you think you've got dyslexia or another specific learning disability, contact the disability team as well if you want to get assessed, as they'll be your point of call when you're at university to get assessed. Again, sooner rather than later. A lot of people at the start of university contact them because they haven't necessarily had the access to the tests, or often when you're at school you'll have to pay for them yourself, but some universities finance them. I'm very fortunate, my university financed my dyslexia assessment, but that's something to check with the disability advisor who can also tell you that. If you're not sure quite who to contact or haven't got the emails, your Students' Union is also a fantastic port of call. My SU has a VP Ed and Welfare who, part of their job is obviously education, so they can point you in the right direction and also support you with your application and through the process. I know that without sort of push from the VP Ed and Welfare during my third year at uni, when I got formally diagnosed, I'm not sure whether it would take me even longer to get diagnosed. Yeah, I ended up doing mine later than I probably should have. I actually had quite a negative interaction with somebody at the end of my first year when I asked about getting in contact to be assessed. They weren't part of the disability team, they're just another member of staff at the uni, and that put me off actually asking to get assessed for quite a while, in fact over a year. So definitely persevere even if people are a bit negative, because some people are, because there's quite a lot of misconceptions about dyslexia and what it actually is like. Another big thing is that if you don't want to tell your university, you absolutely don't have to. You can get your say without having to inform your university that you have it. However, if you're entitled to things like extra time and extra support, your university is going to need to know, because otherwise they can't give it to you. The really good thing now is the fact that from February 2019, you don't actually have to have another assessment, because you used to have a post-16 assessment before you're entitled to DSA, but they've now scrapped that, which is excellent. You just need a copy of the report, like, confirm that you do have dyslexia, and that's all you need for university at least. I would go check out the British Dyslexia Association, as they have a really good page, and it's where I've got a lot of the information for this video from. So the next thing is answering the questions which I was asked. So I'm currently filming on my phone, so I'm going to look down on my laptop where I've got them typed up. So how long have I been diagnosed? I've been diagnosed almost 2 years now. I was diagnosed at the start of my third year. I'm about to start my final year in a few weeks, which I'm very excited about. I wasn't diagnosed at school, but it's not been a barrier to me getting into medical school, although I'm sure it would have helped and made things slightly less stressful and time pressured when setting exams. Has someone taught me to study more efficiently? So at my uni there are people who can help. We have study skill sessions in the library which everyone's entitled to go to, and there's also a person who I'll be entitled to go to, a learning support officer. However, I haven't actually attended any of those sessions for the reason most of them are held at lunchtime, and I haven't really been on placement at the hospital which my uni's based at very much, because that's the way it goes. So I'm not around at most lunchtimes because I'm normally somewhere else. As I said in my first video, I learned how to structure my notes in a way that's useful to me. I'm quite sort of not so comfortable with giving out study tips on here because everyone learns so differently. The way I learn will be really different to the way someone else learns. For instance, I learn by having my notes written down and I like pacing around a room and reading them out. Also works well for me is small group teaching, which is such a benefit when you get into having things like CBL and PBL, but also when you get into clinical years and you have like small groups of, for instance, when I was on my sort of medicine placements last year, there was 5 of us, we had loads of teaching for just like the group of 5 of us, which was so good and I learned so much by doing that. How do I deal with preclinical years and not having a textbook to learn? So my first 2 years I made notes from lectures, as my first 2 years were basically all lecture based. We actually had a list of LOBs. I'm not sure if they still do now because the course has changed slightly since I was in preclinical years, because that's a while ago now for me. And so we had a list of LOBs and for each lecture there was literally a list of learning points you meant to have got from that, which could then be translated into exam questions. So what I did was actually go down the list of lectures and go through each LOB and wrote the notes on each LOB from the lecture, and if there wasn't that information in the lecture I'd go and Google it and fill in the blanks. That worked pretty well for me when I actually stuck to it. When I didn't, it was less good, but I'm in final year now, so I'm not going to complain. There's also a system called Dr. Diak Pimp, which you use for different conditions, which I used sort of during preclinical but a lot in 3rd year. I've kind of moved away from that now because I found a structure which I prefer myself, which I've sort of made up, but it works for me. But that is a really good starting point for conditions and stuff, and then you can adapt it to suit what you do. Often when we were doing PBL we'd have to do a Dr. Diak Pimp for each of the conditions that was mentioned in our PBL. So at least at my uni you have to do some of them. So it's a really good way of learning how to do them properly. Last question I have is how staff treated me. So first thing to say is everyone's experience is super different and it's going to vary from uni to uni and who you actually interact with. As I said, I had a really negative experience with a member of staff who put me off actually approaching the disability team, but when I met the disability lady who's actually, you know, the expert, I told her about that and she listened and she was so nice, and she said only the disability team can tell you if you've got an issue or not. It's actually, no one else can assess it because no one else has actually got the training to assess it. So they're definitely people you want to speak to. Apart from that, most people have been pretty good. I do try and tell people, for instance in PBL, often after our first session I'd stay behind and talk to the tutor to be like, so for one of my PBL they were like, you need to learn your notes every week so that you're not just looking at a laptop screen, and I was like, yeah, I have a bad working memory. I literally have a sheet of paper that says I've got a bad working memory, so I literally can't do that. And they were really accommodating and let me have my laptop screen up, so I tried to learn as much as I could, but it physically wasn't possible for me because that wasn't, my brain just, it takes me a long time to learn stuff. So yeah, they've been really accommodating, so I'm quite lucky. I know some people have had quite negative experiences. I know my sister had issues with her university. Yeah, it's just making sure people know is often the biggest thing, and the university should tell them, but sometimes there's just so many students, it kind of gets lost. So it's really important that, especially in small group teaching, or if you're really struggling with something, just go and tell the person, because they're like, what are they going to do? Get angry? They shouldn't, because it's not your fault, it's not their fault. You just need to let them know, and so you should be able to adapt what they're doing and what you're doing to best suit the situation and best suit the way that you're learning to make it kind of best for everyone, really. Anyway, I've rambled on for quite a while about that, so hopefully you found some of this vaguely useful. Stay safe, wash your hands, bye for now.